today's stream. So I'm just going to be talking about what we can expect for this week moving forward. We have quite a big week ahead of us. We have to understand exactly what is going to be going on and why it is that we should be a little bit cautious this week, guys. This is not the week to just jump in on a Sunday because all the rest of the markets are closed, or even on a Monday and start with those heavy longs. This is not the day. And I think the reason why we're kind of seeing this is because there's just so much news going on. There's so many different announcements that we're expecting to see. So I'm going to actually go in and just show you a little bit of what we might be able to expect in the near future. So what I will do here, let me just show you this. Going to go on to changing this up, put myself down in the corner, bring up where we are with the crypto prices. So as you can see, guys, obviously with the crypto prices, we're kind of keeping that 20K level, which is very, very crucial for all of us Bitcoin fanatics. You know, it's a very, like I said, it's a very mental level, quite a psychological one, and one that I think if we keep, it will put us in good stead. You know, being above this 20K level is actually very good for us investors because it shows a bit of, I should say, validity, maybe. And then when we're below, everyone's like, oh, it's a bit of a panic. So we want to try and avoid that panic just really as much as possible. But what we will need to look out for goes much further than just this 20K level. You know, we are looking at Ethereum, which obviously has dropped 18.5%. We're obviously not. It's just a lot more. There aren't many other cryptos that have dropped this much. You know, I mean, I'm putting a safe bet. You guys would have seen on Twitter. You know, I like if you know, I like Tether. Maybe that's going to hit $2 in the next couple months. I feel really bullish on this. I'm joking. But obviously, this week we have to be looking at the economic calendar. So the economic calendar has kind of really two main events this week. So we start off on Tuesday, I should say, on Tuesday. Tuesday, we have the inflation rate from Japan, which, to be honest, like this is only really going to add to strength within the dollar. So I believe this is going to push the DXY up, and we always know that once the DXY goes up, Bitcoin comes down. Core inflation from Canada, not really going to affect us too much, but what is going to affect us is a huge bit of news here from the Fed itself. So having the interest rate decision, this is where they're going to tell us, hey guys, you know, what are we going to have as the Fed fund rate moving forward? So as you can see, we're priced in for a 75 basis point hike. And then also we have the interest rate decision from Japan and also from England, which are the two other kind of final bits of news here that we're looking at. And that's going to obviously be coming out just a day after. So this will be on Wednesday and this will be on Thursday. So like I said, now is not really the time to be going super long. One thing that you should notice though, Japan's in a bit of a crisis right now. And they just don't seem to be increasing the interest rate. It seems absolutely insane. They're still at negative 0.1. And the US are like, right, you know, let's crack down on inflation. Let's get this up to about 4, maybe 4.5% by the end of the year. And Japan are just chilling, you know, they're just like, oh, we'll leave it. You know, it seems insane. It does seem insane. But anyway, this is what we can expect later on this week. So this is going to be absolutely crucial. As you can see, for me in the UAE, it's coming out at 10 p.m. So if you're in the US, this is probably going to be, I think, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So I'm going to say New York, 2 o'clock. And then I think it's 2:30 that the Fed press conference starts. But just looking at it, and we can have a look from what Bloomberg is saying, it's a very busy week. And although, you know, some of these, you know, this only mentions Japan, Canada, US, and UK, because those are the biggest, you know, some of the biggest economies. But we also have, it's a very busy week for monetary policy because we have Japan, Sweden, Turkey, Brazil, Indonesia, and the Philippines all doing pretty much exactly the same thing and kind of bringing out their their interest rates. So we are going to see a lot of uncertainty, and I think because of this uncertainty, we might see a bit of a move towards the dollar. But like I said, Sweden, Turkey, Brazil, they don't often have a very big impact on the global markets, shall we say? And an update on loan prime rates from China, the People's Bank of China. So we have this. It's something to kind of keep in mind. But like I said, guys, we're banking on that 75 basis point hike. As you can see here, 85% chance of a 75 basis point hike and a 15% chance of a 100 basis point, which would bring us up to that 3.5 from this 2.5 down here. So I think we're probably expecting a little bit of strength in the dollar. So this will be kind of back up testing those levels around about that 110, 111, potentially up to 112. But we're just in a crazy high trend. We can't really deny that we're getting higher lows and higher highs. Every single time we hit a low, we're just increasing and increasing and increasing. And obviously the higher highs just keep coming as well. So it is in an uptrend, the DXY. We are seeing a lot of strength in the dollar because if you look at the global economy, China is potentially in a massive amount of swear word, which you can obviously imagine what I'm going to say. But then also Europe is as well. So, we look at the euro, and obviously the euro is not doing well. Let me turn the light on there. The euro is also not doing very well at all. And I think one of the main things that we're going to look out for, obviously, is going to be a bit of weakness in Bitcoin. But I do want to kind of tell you something that you should be aware of, and I think might be responsible for why we're seeing this extra 10% move to the downside for Ethereum. So obviously we know we've had the merge that's moved from a proof of work to a proof of stake as an underlying part of the blockchain, one of the layers. So anyway, without getting too far into it, everybody now is saying, well, okay, what about Cardano? They've got a hard fork coming up. Maybe we can, buy the rumor, sell the news, make a bit of money. I just don't know. One thing that is now extremely apparent is that Ethereum has become relatively centralized. Okay. And when I say relatively, I mean extremely. Um, because if you look at this, Flashbots build over 82% of relay blocks, adding to Ethereum centralization. Now, everyone has always said that Ethereum is relatively centralized. There are other blockchains that are much more centralized, but Ethereum kind of has been quite centralized. And now we're seeing much more of this coming out after the merge. So basically, BitMEX 2 highlighted the need for a complete redevelopment of Flashbox or a similar system to mitigate unforeseen complications in an era after the merge. So what does this mean? Following the completion of the merge upgrade, Ethereum transitioned into proof of stake consensus mechanism, helping blockchain become more efficient and secure. However, mining data reveals Ethereum's heavy reliance on Flashbots, which are a single server, and this is where the issue comes in for building blocks, which raises concerns of a single point of failure. So you don't really need to know exactly what flashbots are, but they're essentially a centralized entity dedicated to transparent and efficient maximal extractable value MEV, as you see here. So it delivers Ethereum blocks. But what we should look at is complementing the data related to Flashbot's dominance. An analyst from Santiment indicated that 46.15 of Ethereum's POS nodes are controlled by only 2 addresses. And this is absolutely insane. Since the successful completion of the merge, the majority of blocks, somewhere around 40% or more, 40% of all the blocks have been built by 2 addresses, and these belong to Lido and Coinbase. If one of these were to fail, you would lose out on a crazy amount of capability, processing speeds, everything to do with the Ethereum blockchain. So obviously, this is a very, very bad point for decentralization, which is essentially what blockchain is supposed to be. It's a decentralized ledger. But if 40% of the blocks are made by only two people, now this is outdated information, I will say. This was published 2 weeks ago, okay? But just 2 weeks ago, we saw that again, there were still concerns around five staking pools holding account for 60% of staked Ethereum. This is more recent, guys. So it is more recent. But there were five that accounted for 60%. So Lido at the time held 31% of Ethereum. They controlled 31% of Ethereum locked onto the beacon chain, according to data from Masario. As per its website, the platform has nearly 3.4 million ETH, which is about $7.1 billion. Coinbase, they had 14.7% of total Ethereum staked on the beacon chain. Then we look further down, we see Kraken. Kraken, they had, which is, where do we say here? 8.5%. This is insane. When you look at even just one company having 8.5% is actually quite a lot, considering the amount of different, validators there are supposed to be, etc. Binance came in at 6.6, and then we see Staked Us that came in at no, this didn't come in at 17. It came in at 3% because of the crazy yield they were offering at 17.7. Which, by the way, guys, I think that's a bit crazy. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, I would look into that. Hello, Luna. It is kind of like rumored that you could get between 10 to 15%. So if someone is offering a yield of up to 17.7, just do your homework. It could be legit, but just make sure that you obviously do your homework when going into any type of investment, to be honest. But yeah, and especially with obviously these guys are relatively popular, but they're not Binance, and they're not Kraken. So the questions then begin to arise of how are you getting this, and are you giving people yields by other people signing up? I mean, obviously Binance is much more well established. It has a lot more money to be able to offer a certain yield, but also notice how they're not listed on here as having a fantastic yield. Even Kraken are coming in at 4 to 7% because that's much more sustainable. The problem with Luna was that it wasn't sustainable, and they were taking money from people who were just staked to give back to the original people who had staked. And that is exactly what a pyramid scheme is. But then when people stop coming in, you can't pay out the high yields, everyone starts taking the money out and everything crashes. So this is just one thing to keep in mind. So this week, I think we're going to see more of this news. Overall, guys, just to conclude here, I'm going to tell you that I think what we will begin to see is we'll begin to see a little bit more centralization, or at least people claiming and at least discussing about how centralized Ethereum is. Obviously, we have all of these concerns here, but I think the DXY will probably get a little bit stronger, at least in the first half of the week, because people are unsure exactly what the heck is going to happen. Is Jerome Powell going to come out with a 75 basis point hike? It's pretty much expected. I think personally he should be doing a 1% hike, which is 100 basis points, not a 75 basis point hike, because I'm happy to let the markets die for a little bit longer, accumulate a bit more money, buy in at these lower prices, because the more that he squeezes the economy, obviously the more that all of our risky assets, Bitcoin, is going to drop. So that's something to keep in mind. But yeah, overall, I think, the beginning of the week, Monday will probably be a normal trading day. Tuesday, we're going to begin having that kind of caked in worry for what's going to happen the day after, which is on the Wednesday, where we have the FOMC meeting. So this is something to keep in mind, guys. And then I think, there's not really too many questions about what's going to happen in Japan and the UK. But obviously, if you're an investor in Japan or the UK, you're going to be worried about what your country is saying. And whatever they say, you're probably going to want to put your money in the DXY because it's safe. It's not subject to some crazy news that's going to drop the price of it. So this is something to keep in mind. But I'm going to just have a quick look at the comments. Everyone just realizing Solana is better than ETH. Well, do you know what? I really like the proof of history. They have a proof of history, which I think is fantastic. But yeah, Rogue Evans, lol, much decentralized. Yeah, and that is it. That is it. It's supposed to be a decentralized ledger for Ethereum anyway. Ethereum. Um, but yeah, two blocks responsible for two addresses responsible for 40+% of all of the blocks minted is crazy. And this is one thing that I actually think is going to be maybe more of an issue in the future, because one thing that I want you guys to consider is we all know that via BlackRock, Coinbase are offering access to cryptos, right? To institutions, I should say. So yeah, they had the partnership. Everyone's like, "That's amazing, that's so good." We're going to have Coinbase working with BlackRock to open up potentially a doorway to nine. Is it nine? I think it might be more than nine, but $9 trillion worth of assets that BlackRock holds. But that's coming through Coinbase. And notice how Coinbase is one of these addresses that has the most, or has, basically they have loads of validators. People put money in, they make more validators. The validators make the blocks. So the more institutional money we have coming in to make these validators, the more blocks they're going to control. So that makes Coinbase one central point of failure, which could really F with the system quite hard. But anyway, that's my opinion. Just giving you my little rant on a Sunday. These are things that you should look out for. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel and also smash the like button if you liked this video. And drop any questions you have in the comments down below, and I will answer them maybe tomorrow. Yeah, me and AJ will be live. I'll answer the questions. But anyway, I hope you have a nice weekend, guys. Make sure you trade safe and always use protection.